I'm scared of this very lofty high goal we've set. But if we don't set it, we are failing our kids. This is our future. Maybe we're missing that a little bit more. These kids are our future. All of us, we will be gone and they will still be on this earth. Fighting the good fight. Do we really want to give up on them because it's hard? Or do we want to be like, okay, we'll keep procrastinating this really hard goal of literacy? Or I don't put your finger on anything. Our job is to raise up this future and to care about them like I care about my own kids.
Welcome back to Unlock 360. I'm Ben Wiggins, and I'm here with the lovely Wendy York Davoud. Wendy, how's it going?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm doing great. And Erin Hagan Cherry.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us today, Erin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about your recent success with Westwood ISD, a triumphant re-entry into the Texas market and proof that LTL 360 is bound for success.
Well, for me, my heart just started pounding, and I'm just so emotional about it. I'm emotional anyways, but there's something about walking into a room full of educators and immediately feeling welcomed, like immediately. I don't know, the vibe was on from the second I walked in, and nobody looked at us weird, like we were, who are these strangers? It was just like coming to meet us and greet us, and just felt really like instant family. They started asking questions about my family, where I was from, where I lived in Texas, and just wanted to know the history of me just as much as I wanted to know the history of them. So I just think it was really fun. It was a really good experience. It was exciting to see their excitement, because one of the things I noticed lately is that we're also overwhelmed in education. It's overwhelming. And I have a daughter that is a new teacher. She's second year and in Texas. And people want to ask her why she's doing this. Why did you choose this? Like, it's just too much. This group of people, and there were newer teachers, older people that have been there, instructional coaches, all the way to the superintendent, have been doing this hard work, and they're excited about it still. Like, there was this reinvigoration for me. It just excited me to see their excitement, because I don't know that I've seen it as much lately with all that's going on in education. It is super hard work, but they want to do the hard work. It was really fun.
I was struck by and really admiring as we got into the morning by how much time you two spent talking about your personal histories and your family. And, I feel like I learned, new hand gestures yesterday, and the difference between this one and but
That's right.
So
Reckham, Texas Tech. This is Tarleton,
Texas.
Yeah, Tarleton, Texas. Yeah.
So Wendy, what did you notice? What did you notice yesterday?
Yeah, well, I guess to speak to the, what you learned about us part, I think we too often, when we're working with, a group of other adults, we talk about our experience and our professional background, and, we go straight to that because we're trying to prove ourselves maybe. And I just think is so important to build a strong, relationship with people, and that, they just know who you are as a person. So that was very intentional for us to start with the who we are as people, and not necessarily spend so much time on what we've done in our professional background. Yesterday was so exciting. It was the very beginning of a partnership with Westwood ISD, and to see how committed these educators were to their work, and to getting it right, but without, like, I always like to say it's progress, not perfection. And they have a saying, that they use in Westwood called "Get Go," good enough to go. As opposed to perfection, which is essentially the same thing. And just to see them really, really try to get clarity around what it is that they are focused on as a school district, what their goal is, how they're going to measure that success, and then even backing up to what is the purpose, and that it showed up in their feedback. When we looked at the end of the day, as a result of today, I am clearer about what they had to say was, we really needed this clarity. I'm so much clearer on why. I'm so much clearer on, how we're going to do the work. And I'm so much clearer on what we're doing. And this was desperately needed. I noticed just like the power of collaboration, which I know is there, but that was one of the pieces that someone shared at the end also, asking for, just additional comments or feedback, was that the collaboration is so powerful.
Yeah, and credit to Wade and to their whole Dr. Wade Stanford and their whole district leadership team, their campus leadership teams. Everybody seemed very bought in and willing to make changes and get out of their comfort zone, and that was really something to watch.
They didn't all agree on everything. I knew that coming in, or Wade had shared that with me coming in, but to see it in action, you know that you have a strong team when they're not afraid of some conflict.
Yeah,
and that was really great. Now, all of that on top of what Erin said, we were immediately all welcomed and made to feel like we were part of their family. That was amazing.
That's great. Talking about the leadership team, there were some moments of emotional vulnerability yesterday. And Erin, you perked up a couple of times. Was there something in particular that you thought was noteworthy about that?
Yes, I did, because I've been in rooms in my past whenever I was a teacher with a superintendent. It didn't happen very often, I can tell you that. They didn't pull up a chair a lot where I was I just didn't get to have a close relationship or a comfortable relationship.
Right.
In my experience, I'm only speaking about that, but watching him just in the middle, pull up a chair and admit something that I thought, wow, this is like groundbreaking. A superintendent that'll say, guys, there's some fear here and it's okay. We're scared. I think we're scared. We're scared to commit to 1 year, or we're going to reach this goal in a shorter amount of time. Our nature is to push it out. 3 years, 5 years. And of course, that feels more attainable. And I know he wants to respect his people that, I get that, but also I get the fear. A lot of this is fear. You're pushing it out for fear, and we're scared. All educators are scared. Because we're scared we're not going to reach that goal. What if we don't? We're letting kids down. It's a lot of pressure.
Sure.
A lot of pressure. And he was giving them permission. I'm scared too. I'm scared of this very lofty high goal we've set. But if we don't set it, we are failing our kids. This is our future. And maybe we're missing that a little bit more. These kids are our future. All of us, we will be gone, and they will still be on this earth, fighting the good fight. Do we really want to give up on them because it's hard? Or do we want to be like, okay, we'll keep procrastinating this really hard goal of literacy? Or I don't put your finger on anything. I mean, our job is to raise up this future and to care about them like I care about my own kids. And he would put that back on them. Like, what would you want? And he knows his people so well. I love that. He would be like, okay, and just pick a name across the room, stare right into their eyes and say, would you want that for your child? Because guess what? That child's in his district, and he's looking at her child like it's his child. I could feel it. It's so obvious. And she was like, that isn't going to happen. So she's also treating everybody else there like they're her child, because that's how we should be committed, right? And so it's so scary. It was scary to be a mom, but I wasn't giving up on my kids. I'll fight for them. So that's what he was saying. This is scary, but we can do it. Like, I actually truly believe in you. Like, I believe in all of us, and I believe in myself, and I believe in our kids, and they need to know we believe in them. And then immediately it was like, I believe in you and Wendy. Like, he just brought us in so everybody else is buying into it because they trust their leader, right? And he trusts each and every one of them. And I can't tell you how many times they brought up the teachers that weren't really in the room at that point. So it wasn't, this is one group of people that were always pushing back and thinking of their teachers and how are we going to empower them? Because this is hard work, but we can do the hard work. I just thought that was wonderful to see. I mean, the comfortability with that entire group, they felt it. They knew that his passion's real. I mean, it is real.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Wendy, what was in your heart in those moments as you saw the vulnerability in the room and the courage in the room? What was speaking to you most about all of that?
I'm so hopeful because those are some hurdles that we frequently have to overcome.
Okay.
before our clients can do the hard work. And so I was very grateful. I was hopeful. Of course, I admire that in a leader. I believe that you have to be vulnerable and you have to show who you really are to bring your team together. So it excited me. Again, it just made me really hopeful.
One final specific thought on yesterday. We had some post interviews where people got to share their individual experiences, and the two of you were watching, and we had a little bit of communication on, what directions to take those conversations. What were you hearing from the administrators and the teachers as they described their experience in the room yesterday? Did anything grab you about those discussions at the end?
We've been really trying to identify what is it that makes us unique and what is it that makes us different. Mm-hmm. And one of the themes I was hearing is that it's about who we are. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why that's making me emotional, but that is so, it means a lot, because I want to be known as, someone that is a good person and that really cares, and that they can see that this matters, that we care about their success and their student success. Hearing them say that after our first day together, I was just like, yeah. And I was telling someone sitting near me, like, I don't know why this stuff makes me cry, but I think it's because people will say things to me directly, or they might give us, our team, feedback in a feedback survey or in a written form. But when you hear them tell other people, so hearing them talk to you and share their experience with you and being this fly on the wall, it really gets my heart. So that stood out to me. I also do feel like I was hearing them say, you need to work with Lead, Teach, Learn 360, because what they do is different and it is going to get you results. And to hear that level of confidence, again, after the very first day together, was awesome.
Yes. That's the message I got too. Erin?
Yeah, I was going to say, because Wendy's worked with Wade quite a bit more than the rest of that team. So that there was a relationship and a comfortability, I think, there with Wade. And so that's great. We can go in and feel comfortable. But we have no idea how they're going to accept an outside person coming in. Because just like Wade said, he's protective of his people. Mm-hmm. They are protective of their kids and their work, right? Like, they are so protective of it. And so here's somebody on the outside, you never know. Like, are they going to come in and they're about to tear my work apart? Or it's a vulnerable place to be, and it's hard. It's hard to be there because we are so close to that work. And one gift for me yesterday is that I got to see it. I am behind the scenes. I do the operations for Lead, Teach, Learn 360. So I get to know them, the people at the districts, at a different level, and mostly the people in the accounting department. And I still love those relationships. They matter because I understand how much those people matter too, behind the scenes, right? That is working with the dates or the invoicing, or we all matter. But they seem to include me in the group. And I got to sit back and watch what Wendy does and what Kristen does and RP that I don't get to see. I've never watched a service like that. And getting to watch it and getting to sort of put a visual with what I know we do, and I understand it works because I can see the data. I know the success story, but I don't usually get to be involved and see it. And because I'm a social person and this work matters just as much to me, and I don't get to see it all, it's like, being able to watch Wendy and watch them respond to her and that comfortability, I was like, yeah, I already know this about her because I've known her which is another thing I got to bring to them. I've known her since 4th grade, right? And I am deeply devoted to her because I know her passion. I know her on a level that they don't. So I find myself a little protective of her and of our work in a different way because I'm like, oh, no. Underneath all of this hard work that you see, her heart is gigantic and she cares about all of your students, right? I know that. But then I got to see it, and I was looking because I'm behind kind of where you were, Ben, and I was like watching their faces, and they were seeing it already. It was like, oh, she cares. And that was the feedback we got later. And several of the people would come and talk to me and be like, wow, the fact that y'all know each other so long, that meant a lot to me because we are a family here. And so to have a family come and work with our family doesn't feel like we have to be so protective. We got to let our walls down and recognize real quick, oh, their values align with our values. And that's why we cry. Because the work is going to be hard, but we're committed. And underneath all of this hard work are some values, some commitments that we have that when it aligns, we know we're going to be powerful. It's like, this is going to be so good for the students. Forget all of us. It is about these babies on this campus. And I call babies from itty bitty to 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds. My babies, I've got a 24 and a 26-year, they are babies in this world still, but they are the future. And just watch it. I'm looking at all of them like, y'all are empowering this future alongside. We're partners. Just to see it and to visualize it was such a gift for me. And I'm so excited to see what Westwood does. I mean, they are really powerful people, really powerful.
The district has had a ton of success already, and I believe this is on its way to a thunderous success as well. Erin, you talked a little bit about being on the operations side and managing a lot of kind of the back end of the operation. What should a district expect from LTL 360 as they go through their journey in terms of that back end? What does that normally look like for you? Where do you feel like LTL 360 and you differentiate yourselves?
It's a relationship that we build behind the scenes that sometimes Wendy doesn't know all about, or you don't always get to see all of the relationships all over the school district, right? But they're happening. They are happening. And so I would say behind the scenes, it's also a lot of work to coordinate, to make sure that we have purchase orders and that they're doing the things right and contracts are signed, and all of that seems like it's not important. It's very important for the work, but it's still the relationships. Those relationships from us at LTL, I think all of us at LTL 360, that is the most important part of it. And we need it. We desperately need it for our own selves. That's how we work. That's who our people are. That's how you're going to be a part of our team, is if you have the same values, meaning you're going to do this hard work. There's expectations Wendy has of all of us at LTL 360 that always underneath, we know she's doing the best thing for us, always, taking the time to make sure that we are all treated equally, she pulls me to the table all the time, Ben. I am an operations manager, and I am in the meetings as a thought partner. It is important to her, to Wendy, to the rest of our employees that we all have a seat at the table. And so when we're working with the district,
Case in point.
Yeah, you're going to see that. Yeah, often I'm like, what am I doing? Why? I'm in the back.
No, but not.
But not. And so Wendy's like, no, you're in the front. Here you come, every single time. And I'm getting more and more used to it and really understanding my value. And I like to be out there getting to know the people. It matters. And I see when that relationship is built behind the scenes, in front of wherever it is, that our work is going to matter more and more and more, right? Because we understand who they are, their children. I want to know everything about everybody. That is the time we put in, because I think that is what matters to move the work forward, is when we know each other. Yep.
She's also leaving out a couple of pieces I think are really important. We pride ourselves on 24 hours maximum before your email is answered, your phone call is returned, your text is returned, your needs are met. So, right?
Yeah, it's an important standard.
It's a service standard.
Yeah.
We don't leave people hanging. And so if there is something that is needed, Erin is it doesn't matter that her workday is over. She's going to get to it within 24 hours.
Yes.
And so that's one piece that I think is different. Also, we will research and anything that it is that you might be needing as one of our clients. Like, you've got a question about something, we don't know everything. I mean, we don't know diddly squat. I mean, when it comes to what all you could know, but we're going to find out if we can for you, and take that off your plate. So I think service and meeting the needs of our clients is also a differentiating factor because we are small and we are so tightly knit, and we do develop that strong partnership with our clients.
Yeah, I will piggyback on that whenever she said, like we don't know diddly squat. It's very Texas right there. That's a grandma comment.
Bless our hearts.
Yeah, bless your heart. But when she says that, the difference is I often get, we're going to research this. We need to research. We need to know all we're going to know about any topic for anybody. So we do take the time. It just reminded me of like, hey, she'll just send me a quick text or an email, like, let's look this up and let's start learning about it. So it's the willingness to get to know what you want us. Like, so if they have a question and we don't know, we're vulnerable. We'll admit it. We do not try to go, oh God, and then she's behind the scenes going, oh gosh, Erin, we don't know that. We can't let them know. No, we let them know. We're very honest and vulnerable about it because it's impossible to know everything about everything. Yeah. There isn't a company out there, and they're lying to you if they say they do, but it's in the willingness to say, hey, I don't really know, but I'm on it. And then we're on it pretty quick, and we'll have some sort of an answer, whether it's we've researched and we don't still really understand it, maybe together we can, or it's just in that honesty and vulnerability.
It's kind of funny that you said that because I was bothered. Mm-hmm. Like inside, and I didn't even tell you this,
great.
that yesterday after, Ben was interviewing some of the participants, that he would say, was it pickups?
Oh,
pickups?
Yeah, pickups.
And I just said, no, it was great. And I didn't know what that meant. And it's been bothering me since yesterday. So I asked him today. Yeah. Because typically we are very honest.
Yeah, right.
And we're going to say, we don't have all the answers. Mm-hmm. We're going to help you get through them. But yesterday I was a little bit
like, what is he asking us?
I'm not. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Yep. We're not perfect.
So last looks and pickups.
Yeah. We know it now.
That was the new stuff we explored this morning. Let's talk a little bit about the data that you're using, because I'm sure some of our Texas schools and some of our Texas districts are going to have questions about data. What does that look like? And it's such a hot thing right now. How do you manage data? What's the data look like? What does the data tell you? What's the science behind it? So let's talk about LTL 360 as a data company. What does that process look like for the two of you as you work forward with your district relationships?
As a school district, as a school site, as a classroom teacher, you have to have multiple types of data. And so the word data itself is a little bit of a struggle because I think most commonly people see numbers when you say the word, or they think numbers. And so the numbers of the scores from the test, the standardized test, it's one tiny piece of data to inform the work. And so the types of data that we help our teachers are the teams of teachers we work with, the school site leadership teams, site principals, and district office leaders or district leadership teams use are things like perception data, survey data.
Okay.
Yeah. So, let's talk to the kids and ask them. Let's talk to the staff and ask them. Let's give a survey and get some anonymous feedback.
So qualitative?
Qualitative.
Interesting. Okay.
Let's actually take the student work, and instead of looking at an answer key and yes, no, here's your score, work on this. Let's actually look at what the work is telling us. Let's take the time, slow down. Mm-hmm. If this assignment was meaningful enough to really assess whether or not our kids are learning, because that's the only way I'm teaching is if they're learning it, then we need to slow down and really look at what are they telling us. Mm-hmm. There was a team of teachers looking at student work, and I was taking them through the process of let's slow down. And what do we see? Yeah. And one of the things that jumped out to me that they did not necessarily notice was all of the doodling. A lot of doodling. A whole lot of doodling.
Yeah.
What does that make you think? What does that make you wonder?
Well, to me, it suggests a couple of possibilities. One, restless energy. Two, artistic expression. Maybe not enough right brain thinking going on, more left brain. And three, potentially a lack of engagement between the student and the instructor. Mm-hmm. Those are the three things where my head goes.
Yeah. And then I'm thinking also maybe they had too much time.
Oh, yeah.
So they finished.
Right.
So now what am I going to do? I'll
Doodle.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
doodle.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm sure, Ben, there are probably 10, 20 other possibilities.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
But if educators don't take the time to slow down, then we don't really know our impact, and we're not necessarily getting the best impact. That's one of the pieces that I think we really value about John Hattie and his research around education and what works is that it's not about what works. We have to get to what works best.
Yeah. Okay. Optimization.
Yeah, I feel like data is a really tough thing because when we think about it, especially as educators, the first thing you're thinking about is the standardized test and what that shows you.
Quantitative.
For sure.
Sure.
I mean, that's the growl. That's
Linear
that's the push.
regressions
People are like, that doesn't really measure our kids. And it's valid because that's usually what's being brought to the table, right? And there is so many numbers there that are confusing and like really you'll look at the numbers and be like, no, but this kid is this, or this. I know this about, as a teacher, because you're so protective, again, of your actual students, and you know them better than anybody else, right? And those scores certainly aren't telling you about the whole child.
Right.
So it is. Wendy can get in the classroom and have them, teach them a new way, I would say, to look at the data. Like you wouldn't normally think that right there is data. I wouldn't have thought about that. I go straight still as a mom, to that, what we feel like we're judged off of, right? Those scores on whatever testing it is. And it's different. Each state has a different sort of mandated test. And we use those scores to get our data about a student, how many days they're absent, how many days those are all those numbers. And they're important, but they're not everything. There's so many different measures and so many different ways to look at data. And so I'm certainly learning more and more, as I sit with them and watch them teach, like, okay, but have you looked at the doodles? Who's looking at the doodles? It can tell you so much about your teaching, about their, what they're responding, how they are learning and what they might need from you. I don't know what you're thinking of something.
So I was thinking, well, I want to let you finish first and then.
I'm done. Listen, I can ramble. I could keep on talking.
What I was thinking was I read once that the precursor to most great scientific discoveries is not eureka, but hey, that's funny. And that's what I'm hearing with the doodle thing. It's like, what? This is curious. What's going on here? And it's often it's the next great discovery often comes from the place where we least expect it.
Exactly.
And I'd like to add another piece. So I've mentioned like survey data, perception data, not just staff but students, and really asking them, interviewing. Having actually focus groups or one-on-one interviews as pieces of data. There's also like getting in the classrooms and observing, and that has happened since, that's happened for as long as I can recall, where people will come in and observe and gather maybe some data, but typically they are looking at instructional practice. And at the end of the day, we need to start looking at what the kids are able to do, where they're struggling, where they're being successful, where they're struggling, and be thinking about that piece, not just instructional practice. It is perfectly okay to gather data on instructional practice because that tells us is our training working, is our professional development working, what supports do our teachers need, what resources might our teachers need. But we also need to look at what is the impact of that on what the students are able to do and produce in the classroom. How are they engaging with the learning?
Sure. And it's really important because if you only are looking at instructional practice, that's assuming a perfect conversion, which of course we're not getting. That's part of why we're here, is because we know that the translation is not perfect. Let's talk about what's next for LTL 360 in the state of Texas. What are you looking forward to the most, both of you?
I'm looking forward to having, being able to proudly shout to the mountaintops that we have helped our districts serve the students, and actually we've had an impact that we can proudly say that they're getting better results because of our work with them, better results for all of their students because of our work with them. I can't wait. Being a Texan myself, I am just so excited. I like to say, I want to have an impact in my backyard.
Watching Westwood and thinking, if this is Texas school
was
districts
so impressive.
now, like we're
so impressive.
If this is it, that is the most exciting thing. Because I had a teacher. No, I think it was, I'm not sure if she was an instructional coach. I can't remember, and that devastates me because I should know her title. But she came up to me yesterday at the end because of a story that I shared and sort of interrupted their Wendy.
She's an
instructional coach. Okay, she came up to me and was like, "Thank you so much for sharing to the whole group about your daughter." I had a lot of tears because, I have the story of people asking her, "Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?" It's such a negative thing, and I get really upset. I really do all the time. We talk about it constant in our meetings, in our company meetings. Because they're following my daughter's story along with me and the frustrating parts of that where people look down upon it. Like, I was so in love with all of my teachers. They mattered to me. They were such an important part of my life that I wanted to become one. I had my chalkboard all the time out, and I was teaching my babies, my little stuffed animals. And so to have a daughter in this profession and it to be one that's all of a sudden just too hard. It's always been hard. This is hard work. And we should be really excited to do that hard work because if we do not, then we have an entire future of people, children right now that will be running our country. They will be the ones doing our job. Somebody has to teach our kids. So if we're not doing our work to teach them, and to love them and to care about them and to pour back into them and get excited like we are and they are. I'm seeing it again. Like it started. I'm like, I need you to be around my daughter because what I want for her is to be proud and to be excited of the work that she's doing in this world, to love on these babies, to teach them whatever part, to know the whole child, right? Like that's what she does. You're going to teach them to read because they're in your good care, okay? That's going to happen. But if we do not have teachers and nobody's going into this profession, then what? Then what? So I don't want people to tell her, why are you doing this? What are you doing? Go into do anything else but teach. These literal conversations from strangers, in the Target checkout. And so I shared that story yesterday because it was so good. That
bastion of wisdom, the Target checkout line.
Yeah, the Target checkout line. I'm like, well, don't tell her that while we're hundreds of dollars into her school supplies, right? Like to go teach.
Right.
Like that's helpful.
Yeah.
But whenever I had someone come up yesterday afterwards and say, you go tell your daughter that she is fighting the good fight and she is doing the hard work and it matters. And that we here are proud of her. They've seen a picture of her now on a screen and they've heard some background story of her. And it's like they loved my kid because they know that it's important. And that's what we do collectively. That's who we want to work with. That's what we're excited about is getting back in this new excitement, this new passion for teaching and for learning and for teaching the kids and being proud of this job, this career, because I feel very lucky and blessed to be a part of this, right? It's important. And I want like our shoulders raised, head up high. We are in the education field. It's not it's a, woo, we're there. We're doing this. We are teaching the future. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And it should be something we're super proud of and excited.
I think that's a good way to close it out. On behalf of LTL 360 and Podcast Architects, I'm Ben Wiggins here with Wendy and Erin. Thank you both for the time today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
We'll see you on the next episode.